Okay. Let's read further. Now, here one question is coming that unless and until one one is expecting Krishna's uh, mercy, expecting the communion with the Lord, or but then the point which is explained here is that, see, the point is one is expecting, okay, that communion with the Supreme Lord, but till that time that intense state comes, how to pull on, that's one point which comes. Now you see the point. The material subject matter and material terrain and spiritual terrain differs in this way. In the material terrain, generally, see, our experience is what, unless you achieve the final thing, everything what you have done is actually zero. That's material affairs, but spiritual life is not like that. Why? Because Krishna is absolute. So therefore, whenever a sadhaka very intensely, sincerely and intensely takes shelter of Krishna, because Krishna is absolute, therefore Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, pastimes are all absolute. And because they're absolute, one feels the presence and reciprocation of Krishna just by plunging himself in these activities of devotional service. So, how is this nectarian flow tasted by such devotees practically in hearing, reading, chanting, and seva? Okay, this is a question. Yeah, so we can. How is this nectarian flow tasted by the devotees? Practically, or there is positive attraction for it. We will see the nature of enthusiastic practice of Krishna consciousness is there is positive attraction for it. So, just like Prabhupada says, if you chant nicely, the result of chanting is going to be more chanting. You would want to chant even more. If you read here nicely, you will want to read here more. So, that's the point. And if you say, okay, what is the experience actually? The experience is that of happiness of the spirit soul. The experience that of satisfaction. The restless mind starts coming to a problem. Start coming to a standstill. Now one no more needs sense gratification. The hankering for sense gratification start coming down. That is the point. So that is how the experience is. The experience is, okay, this is, I can go on with this. I don't need anything else. So the taste for material enjoyment is going to go away. And Prabhupada is explaining this taste doesn't go away on its own. Only when the higher taste is coming, then only this taste will go away. So one feels very much satisfied. Mm. So therefore, sometimes one feels very much satisfied. One wants to engage more and more in the activities of Krishna consciousness. So let's read further. Remembrance. Yes, question.
If we hear more and more when our taste for material intoxication goes down, say that a person who does sense gratification more and more, his taste for spiritual life goes down.
Yes.
So that he also feels that he is happy here, he is enjoying, but actually illusion. So how to make him understand? Because they, a materialistic person will say we are enjoying that, but their enjoyment is like the hog's enjoyment, and that enjoyment they also think it goes on. Like the alcoholic is thinking, okay, pite rehta, pite rehta, pite rehta. And the more and more they become intoxicated, and more they become forgetful of the spiritual enjoyment. So how to differentiate and guide them? Because वो लोगों को लगेगा हम भी तो मजा कर रहे हैं, and it should go on.
Okay, so the question is materialistic, the more one feeds sense gratification, he loses taste for spiritual life. Yes, that is very true. So therefore, materialistic people also can go on their so-called enjoyment. How to get them out? So actually, material happiness is temporary and illusory. Even a materialistic person can understand that, because there is no perpetual experience of happiness even for a materialistic person. There is nobody in this world who will be happy working 12 hours a day. But people have to work. There is nobody in this world who is happy, paying 30-40% of his salary as taxes, but people have to pay. So that is the point. The point is that the miseries of this world uh, are real, and every single person can appreciate that easily. Only thing is why people continue, because they don't have any alternative. So we show how Krishna consciousness is the practical alternative which will ensure their day-to-day well-being, upkeep, as well as enrich them with the positive nectarine transcendental, yeah, flow of spiritual energy. That's the point. So it's so material sense gratification is not easy as well, and therefore everybody is frustrated. You see, sense gratification not easy. Like somebody wants to travel to here and there places, how much he can travel? It requires so much money. Even if you have money, you need visas. No, so that's the point. So it's not easy. Similarly, people suppose people who are addicted to even addiction, it's not easy, is it not? Like you see how much materialistic people have to control themselves. Like somebody is a drunkard, but he knows that if he doesn't go for work, he will not get money to drink. How will he survive? He has to go to work and he cannot go to the work drunk. So he has to wait till the day end so that he can drink. Is it not? So you see, it's a big tapasya for him, is it not? But people have to do that. They have to undergo. So the point is, you see, in general, say for example, a person, very lusty person cannot misbehave, because he misbehaves, it will come back on him very badly. The society doesn't accept, is it not? So although he's feeling lusty, he has to hold all that, is it not? So you see, materialistic people, their lives is also not easy, and people can appreciate that there is so much pain to get a little bit of flickering gain. So why to do it again and again? You know, that's the point. So this note can make people realize that the same needs can be fulfilled. The same food and diet, that need can be fulfilled in a much more easier fashion, which can make one even more materially productive. So, and then we give that experience to people, then very likely they can take it up. So that's the point, is it not? Just like my PhD colleague in Australia. So, uh, so she had made a regulation. She wanted to watch one movie every day, but she used to feel frustrated because she said there are not so many good movies. Sometimes no, she would not be able to search out a good movie to watch. Frustrated, she said because movie production very slow, and she was regulated because she was a scientist, you know. So she's regulated because she only watch one movie in a day, which is I mean regulated. It's only 1.5 hours, a day, because it's quite regulated, like that. But then also she was feeling there is lack of dearth of opportunity. So material sense gratification not easy. People are still, even sense gratification, not people are frustrated. So so we have to but if we simply speak, people may not understand. So we have to make them realize it, make them practice it, give the experience of it. Is it not? That's the point. So that is why culture and philosophy both have to be presented. Then people can understand.
Somebody is badly addicted to some sense gratification, like smoking or anything, and person is losing his life because of that. Still, he is not able to do that. How to help? Because now he understand that this is destroying my health. Like I'm losing my eye, but still he is not able to do that.
Yeah, addictions. How to give up addictions.
Because while
So
seeing the harmful effects, still he is not able to give it up.
yeah, because that's what mental energy is. That but once caught, then it is not so easy to give up actually. So because it is addicted, even if the person is crying and he wants to give it up, he will not be able to give it up because sense gratification is the poison, and it is a very dangerous addiction. So when a person is fallen into that trap, how to help him give it up? We have to give him confidence. You have to give him determination. Uh, you have to give him strength. You have to encourage him, and he has to take a determined call. It is possible, but it is possible with great amount of determination. Therefore, one has to. So many times to get out of conditionings requires a great amount of determination, and one has to be madly wanting it. Therefore, one has to increase his desperation towards Krishna. So little effects one will be able to see. Little effects one will be able to see. But to get out of it, in a tangible manner, to get out of multiple shackles, to get out of addictions, requires a determined endeavor. Therefore, you have to increase the determination and desperation, and that can happen uh, with subjecting oneself to uh, more intense association of devotees and hearing. One has to increase his hearing quotient. One has to increase his association quotient. Then one will get more strength and desperation. So that's the point. Okay, let's go forward. Remember, in some way or the other, if someone establishes in his mind his continuous relationship with Krishna, this relationship is called remembrance. About this remembrance, there is a nice statement in Vishnu Puran where it is said simply by remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the living entities become eligible for all kinds of auspiciousness. Therefore, let me remember the Lord who is unborn and eternal. In the Padma Puran, the same remembrance is explained as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, because if someone remembers him, either at the time of death or during his span of life, he becomes freed from all sinful reactions. Yeah, so if we do hearing and chanting, then that hearing and chanting will resonate inside our existence, and that is what is called as remembrance. Meditation. Okay. The next point here is meditation. To meditate means to engage the mind in thinking of the form of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord, the activities of the Lord, and the service to the Lord. Meditation does not mean anything impersonal or void. According to the Vedic literature, meditation is always in the form of Vishnu. In the Narsimha Puran, there is a statement about meditation on the form of the Lord. It is said there, meditation focusing on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been accepted as transcendental and beyond the experience of material pain and pleasure. By such meditation, even one who is grossly miscreant can be delivered from the sinful reactions of his life. In the Vishnu Dharma, there is a statement about meditation on the transcendental qualities of the Lord. It is said persons who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness and who remember the transcendental qualities of the Lord become free from all the reactions to sinful activities. And after being so cleansed, they become fit to enter the kingdom of God. In other words, no one can enter the kingdom of God without being freed from sinful reactions. And one can avoid sinful reactions simply by remembering the Lord's form, qualities, and pastimes, etc. In the Padma Puran, there is a statement about remembering the activities of the Lord. See, a person who is always engaged in meditation on the sweet pastimes and the wonderful activities of the Lord surely becomes freed from all material contamination. In some of the Puranas, evidence is given that if someone is simply meditating on devotional activities, he has achieved the desired result and has seen face to face the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this connection, there is a story in Brahma Vaivartaka Puran that in the city of Pradishthanapur in South India, there was a Brahmana who was not very well to do, but who was nevertheless satisfied in himself, thinking that it was because of his past misdeeds and by the desire of Krishna that he did not get sufficient money and opulence. So he was not at all sorry. For all his poor material position, and he used to live very peacefully. He was very open hearted, and sometimes he went to hear lectures, some lectures delivered by great realized souls. At one such meeting, when he was very faithfully hearing about the Vaishnava activities, he was informed that these activities can be performed even by meditation. In other words, if a person is unable to actually perform Vaishnava activities physically, he can meditate upon the Vaishnava activities and thereby acquire all of the same results. Because the Brahmana was not very well to do financially, he decided that he would simply meditate on grand, royal, devotional activities, and he began his business thus. Sometimes he would take his bath in the river Godavari. After taking his bath, he would sit in a secluded place on the bank of the river, and by practicing yoga exercises of pranayama, the usual breathing exercises, he would concentrate his mind. The breathing exercises are meant to mechanically fix the mind on a particular subject. That is the result of the breathing exercises and also of the different sitting postures of yoga. Formerly, even quite ordinary persons used to know how to fix the mind upon the remembrance of the Lord. And so the Brahmana was doing this. When he had fixed the form of the Lord in his meditations, that he was dressing the Lord very nicely in costly clothing and ornaments, helmets, and other paraphernalia. Then he offered his respectful obeisances by bowing down before the Lord. After finishing the dressing, he began to imagine that he was cleansing the temple every day. After cleansing the temple, he imagined that he had many water jugs made of gold and silver. After cleansing the temple, he imagined that he had many water jugs of gold and silver, and he took all those jugs to the river, filled them with the holy water. Not only did he collect water from the Godavari, but he collected from Ganges, Yamuna, Narmada, Kaveri, Suddenly, a Vaishnava while worshipping the Lord collects water from all these rivers by mantra chanting. This Brahman, instead of chanting some mantra, imagined that he was physically securing water from all these rivers in golden and silver pots. Then he collected all kinds of paraphernalia for worship: flowers, fruits, incense, sandalwood pulp. He collected everything to place before the deity. All these waters, flowers, scented articles were then very nicely offered to the deities to their satisfaction. Then he offered arati, and with great regulative principles, he finished all these activities in the correct worshipping method. He would daily execute a similar performance as his routine work, and he continued to do so for many, many years. Then one day, the Brahman imagined in his meditations that he has prepared some sweet rice with milk and sugar and
Oh.
offered the preparation to the deity. However, he was not very satisfied with the offering because the sweet rice had been prepared recently and it was still very hot. This preparation, sweet rice, should not be taken hot. The cooler the sweet rice, the better is the taste. So, because the sweet rice had been prepared by the Brahman very recently, he wanted to touch it so that he could know whether it was fit for eating by the Lord. And as soon as he touched it, the sweet rice was burnt. Oh, he immediately was burned by the heat of the pot. Okay, because he touched the sweet rice with his finger, sweet rice pot. In this way, his meditation broke. Now, when he looked at his finger, he saw that it was burnt, and he was wondering in astonishment how this could have happened. Because he was simply meditating on touching the hot sweet rice. He never thought that his finger would actually become burnt. So while he was thinking like this in Vaikuntha, Lord Narayan, seated with the goddess of Lakshmi, goddess of fortune, that is Lakshmi, began to smile humorously. On seeing the smiling of the Lord, all the goddesses of fortune attending the Lord became very curious and uh,
Mm.
so he asked the Lord, Narayan, why he was smiling. Now the Lord, however, did not reply to their inquisitiveness, but immediately sent for the Brahmana. An airplane sent from the Vaikuntha immediately brought the Brahmana into Lord Narayan's presence. When the Brahmana was thus present before the Lord and the goddess of fortune, the Lord explained the whole story. The Brahmana was then fortunate enough to get an eternal place in Vaikuntha in the association of the Lord and his Lakshmis. This shows how the Lord is all pervading, in spite of his being locally situated in his abode. Although the Lord was present in Vaikuntha, he was present also in the heart of the Brahmana when he was meditating on the worshipping process.
Yes, bro.
Thus, we can understand the things offered by devotees, even in meditation, are accepted by the Lord and they help one achieve the desired result. So, this is very interesting. Uh, See, the point is now one may say, okay, we are hearing chanting and we go on hearing and chanting automatically. No, slowly, slowly, automatically, the remembrance of the Lord will take place. Uh, so in fact, the process of chanting or preaching uh, triggers a remembrance. One is forced to remember deeply, is it not? And and one is also forced to take in the spiritual message also deeply, is it not? Because you have to share. So we are more attentive.
Mm.
Uh, Now the question which comes is that okay, so where does meditation play a role? It's all hearing and chanting. It's all hearing and chanting. Uh, so where does meditation play a role? so, so, so where does meditation play a role? So if there is hearing, there is chanting, there is hearing, there is chanting. What is this meditation? You know, you know. And there is a question here. Okay, how is meditation different from remembrance? So Yeah. So, so yeah, that's a point. So interesting. So, so, so you see, remembrance is direct. Okay, we remember. Okay, a point we heard. We remember the form of the Lord. uh, so, and in English, the word remembrance is used for one short event. At one point, he remembered. You know, okay, I was in a problem and I remembered Krishna start chanting Hare Krishna. That's remembrance. Anything which goes on for a prolonged period of time is not just remembrance. Now, then one may say it is a meditation. That's one aspect. That's one aspect. And we will see meditation is not just direct. Okay, we saw the picture of the Lord, and then when the picture is not there, then one is just imagining and meditating, like that on the Lord's form, say. So now meditation is in not direct also. No, that means verbatim also, and meditation is derived also. So remembrance is not derived. Meditation is derived. What do you mean derived? Derived means okay, uh, we are part and parcel of Krishna. Hari Bol. Now we have eternal relationship with Krishna. Hari Bol. Let us increase our service to Krishna. So one may not be meditating on okay the statement that okay I'm part and parcel of Krishna. I'm part and parcel of Krishna. I'm part and parcel of Krishna. But one's consciousness and mind will be occupied with serving Krishna. A part is supposed to serve the whole. So now the whole focus will be how to serve. How can I please Krishna? Is it not? How can one please Krishna? So that kind of meditation is so that is the kind of meditation which is recommended. Like you see, the beautiful story of the Pratishthanapur Brahman is explained very vividly here. But what is Pratishthanapur Brahman doing? He's meditating on service, mission. He's meditating on the mission. Is it not? Similarly, so certain shastras it is said that actually when one is worshipping, chanting the holy name, soli, 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 one starts meditating on, say, the name, form, qualities, pastime. So it is said that for eternity, one can, such a devotee can go on meditating on one pastime of the Lord. So now this meditation is also not just remembering the facts or remembering the pastime, because what is happening is that every meditation is going deeper in this case. So devotee, by remembering the pastime, he is entering the pastime. And the more he enters, the more he gets a clear, clarity of vision. The more he enters, the more he gets a clarity of vision. So therefore, meditation very interesting. So meditation is about dynamic expansion and extension, is it not? Of the mission of the Lord, is it not? That's what meditation is about. And that is why meditation has been included as a very important limb of devotional service.
Direct entrance level.
Entrance. It gives us entrance, step by step entrance.
Like only like reading about level and just remembering the events is a different thing. And meditating and actually understanding what Srila Prabhupada has undergone for us and say, I'm remembering of my Guru Maharaj.
Yes, meditation.
Meditation means to understand in depth
Yes.
what it is.
Not just understand in depth, but apply in action. Meditation means applying action, not just understanding depth. So that's what the mind has to become engaged. One is basically dragging the mind. When the mind starts getting dragged, that's meditation. Remembrance is eureka, but meditation is manufacturing.
When mind starts dragging,
Yeah, one start dragging the mind. The mind is to be engaged. So that's what is recommended. Okay, so with this we complete chapter 10. And therefore, now we start with chapter 11, aspects of transcendental service. So the first one is servitorship. Yeah. Oh, this is going to talk about 5 rasas, it seems. Yeah. A few rasas. Okay. Anyways, aspects of transcendental service. Let's read it. Okay. In the opinion of Karmis, in the opinion of Karmis, fruitive workers, offering the results of karma is called servitorship. But according to Vaishnava Acharyas, like Rupa Goswami, servitorship means constant engagement in some kind of service to the Lord. That is servitorship. In Skanda Purana, it is said that those who are attached to ritualistic activities, the 4 orders of social life, the 4 orders of spiritual life, are considered devotees. But when devotees are actually engaged in offering service to the Lord directly, they must be Bhagavatas or pure devotees. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities or prescribed duties, according to the 4 orders of social and spiritual life, are not actually pure devotees. But still, because they are offering their result to God, they are accepted as devotees. When one has no such desire but acts spontaneously out of love of Godhead, for the conditioned souls who have come into contact with material world are more or less desirous of lording it over material nature. The system of Varnashrama and the prescribed duties under this system are so designated that the conditioned soul may enjoy in the material world according to his desire for sense gratification, but at the same time become elevated to spiritual understanding. Under these prescribed rules of Varna and Ashram, there are many activities which belong to devotional service in Krishna consciousness. The devotees or householders accept Vedic ritualistic performances as well as the prescribed duties of devotional service because both are meant for satisfying Krishna. So, when householder devotees perform some Vedic ritualistic duties, they do so to satisfy Krishna. As we have previously discussed, any activity aimed at satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead is considered devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami describes one who is fit for becoming engaged in devotional service. He says that persons who are neophytes, who have developed a little love for Godhead, and are not interested in activities. So even such people are not interested in activities of sense gratification in proportion to their devotion. Yeah. If there is still some attraction for sense gratifying activities, then the results for such activities should be offered to Krishna. That is also called engagement in the service of the Lord, with the Lord as a master and the worker as a servant. In the Naradiya Puran, there is a statement of how this servitorship is transcendental. It is said that the person who is constantly engaged in devotional service by his body, mind, and words, or even a person who's not practically engaged, but simply by desiring to do so, he can become liberated.
Next.
Yeah, servitorship. So there is a beautiful principle about servitorship. The beautiful principle here is that mm, the beautiful principle here is that you see, Srila Prabhupada is explaining. See, uh, now we may say, okay, so you see the statement here. That's so beautiful. He says that they're a neophyte, and who have developed a little love of Godhead, hmm, and they are not interested in the activities of sense gratification in proportion to the devotion. Yeah. So if he's a neophyte, how can he give up sense gratification? Hmm? And if he's given up sense gratification, what is the meaning of in proportion to devotion? Uh, and if all this is happening, yeah. So how is a person neophyte? And what do you mean by in proportion to devotion? So this is quite interesting here. See, this goes on to say that, or this goes on to show that Krishna consciousness is a very merciful process. So what happens is that what happens is that so that means that uh, devotional service gives in general gives more rewards to living entity than he deserves. That's one aspect. And and we see that the special mercy in devotional service is that it doesn't just require one to come into a divine transcendental state, say the platform of nishtha, for one to be able to lose the taste for sense gratification. you know for one will be able to to be able to reach or lose the taste for sense gratification. It's not that okay, only when the platform nishtha will come, then one will lose taste for sense gratification. No. Krishna consciousness can act for a neophyte as well. That means uh, any sincere and serious and enthusiastic drive of devotional service itself can help one loosen the taste for sense gratification. And if one continues on that note and that speed, one will never be caught by Maya. But if one loses that note and speed because the person is neophyte, he'll be caught by Maya. No, that's the point. Because of this principle, Srila Prabhupada gave sannyas to 6 months old in Krishna consciousness, 1 year old in Krishna consciousness. How is it possible? How can? Why? Because Krishna consciousness can act on a neophyte as well. And this is a special mercy of Krishna consciousness. So servitorship is a very beautiful principle. So that's the point. You see, Krishna consciousness, all it requires is to become sincere and serious. And that is why, the Vaishnava Acharyas tell us that the most important principle in Krishna consciousness is to be busy. It doesn't matter how much we are conditioned. Doesn't matter how much we are conditioned. Because despite of the conditionings existing around, one can still, plunge himself into a powerful devotional service. One can still loosen the taste for Krishna consciousness, although the heart is not purified for the time being, because he is engaged in the activities. And if one keeps that busy program always on, slowly, one